My name is Julia, and in your book, hey, come on in. In your book, it says Connie Stewart is teaching this class. Unfortunately, Connie Stewart isn't feeling well, so I am going to teach it instead. My name is Julia Friedman. My husband works for RYM, and I have been a youth director or in youth ministry for the past 10 years. So I'm going to talk about some things, and I would love your feedback and chaperone's feedback. We're just going to kind of have a discussion. I am not standing up here like a teacher, so I want you guys to know that. I don't want to be like a teacher and her students. Really, I'm standing up here like a big sister. We are sisters. If you're a Christian, we are sisters, and we'll be sisters forever. So if you can pretend this week like I'm your big sister, I want you guys to think of me that way, because we're going to have like discussions about girls and you know, things that are real specific to girls, things that girls struggle with that guys don't struggle with, and things that you'll struggle with if you're in junior high, if you're in senior high, if you're in college, if you're a mom, if you're in a nursing home. Until you see Jesus, because you are a girl, there are certain things that girls' hearts struggle with. It's just the way we're made. It's the way we're wired. So I am not in high school, obviously. I'm a little bit older than that, but I still struggle with a lot of the same things y'all struggle with because I'm a girl. And so that's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about how we find... Do you need a chair?
Yeah, this is broken.
Awesome. Let me see.
Sit down, and I think that's why they're in the back.
Yeah, let me grab... that way they were holding up back there. Can I grab this chair?
That would be all right. I think you'd be distracted.
Oh, I'm not distracted. You're good. I just don't want to hit anybody.
I think like, was it earlier, so I don't want to break it even more.
Yeah, it's not a little bit broken. That's a lot broken.
Yeah, that's
well, I'm glad you caught it. It's not like fall. Okay. Everybody good? Everybody comfortable? If it gets hot in here, let me know, and we can change the air, because it was really cold when I walked in. But, so what we're going to be talking about for the next couple days is all of the hopes and dreams and things that girls think about, and how we find all of that in Jesus. So we're going to be in the Word a lot, and here's the deal, is what I've learned as a Christian. If you look at Jesus long enough, if you look at who He is and what He's like, it will change you. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is looking at who Jesus is, and we're going to be talking about different girls' stories in the Bible, things that different girls went through in the Bible, and we're just going to do like a whole girl whatever. So let me pray for us first. I do want to say we are so glad you're here this week. We have prayed for you specifically. We are so glad you're here. So thank you for being here, and I hope that it's a fun week for y'all. But I just want you to know that we have really prayed for y'all. We're excited that you're here. We're so grateful for you. So let me pray, and then we'll get into the Bible. Dear Jesus, thank you for your word, and thank you for the fact that we can open up this book, and we can learn about you. We can learn about what you love. We can learn about the things that you care about, God, and the thing that you care about is us, and I'm just so grateful for that. So as we look at this girl's story today, God, I ask that you would open our eyes and help us to see you and see what you're like. And God, I just ask that you would help me to speak truth. And it's in your name I pray, amen. All right, so let's all open to Luke 8. Luke. And if y'all start to not be able to hear me because of all the noise in the back, just raise your hand. And really, like if you have questions or whatever, just raise your hand. How many of y'all are going into the 7th grade? Okay. And how many are going into the 8th grade? How many are going into the 9th grade? Okay. And how many it's your first time at RYM? Wow. Awesome. Cool. Did you guys like last night? Was that fun?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see. We're going to be in verse 40 is where we're going to start. So Luke 8, verse 40. And I'm going to read this whole story, and then we're going to talk about it. Some of you who know Bible stories might have heard this one before. So just listen up as we read. Okay, verse 40. Now when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue, and falling at Jesus' feet, he implored him to come to his house. For he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. And Jesus went. As Jesus went, the people pressed around him, and there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years. And though she had spent all of her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately her discharge of blood was ceased. And Jesus said, "Who was it that touched me?" When all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me, for I perceive that power has gone out from me." And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him, and how she had been immediately healed. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Okay. So this woman, she had been bleeding for 12 years. And all of the scholars who study the Bible and really think long and hard about it, they pretty much agree that this was a girl problem, like her bleeding was a girl problem. It wasn't like she was bleeding from her finger or whatever, it was a girl problem, right? So in my mind, I think, period, like she was on her period. Some of you might have started your period, some of you might have not, but that's something that a lot of women have in common is we all have periods, right? And for us, it comes and goes, like back and forth, we have it, and then it goes away for a while, it comes back. This woman had it for 12 years, straight. And in my mind, I'm like, that just, like, I would hate that, I would hate it. So this poor woman had her period for 12 years. Some of you are 12 years old. That's like your whole life, feeling awful. So I just really feel bad for this woman. But here's the deal. For you and me, when we're on our period, nobody cares. No one can really even tell. Like, we can play sports, we can go to school, go to the mall, we can do whatever we want. No one cares. And the only reason people know we're on our period is because we're like, wow, like crazy, grumpy, moody. Like, that's the only reason anyone would ever know. But nobody cares. Like, no one cares. Even if they did know you're on your period, they're like, who cares? For this girl, back in the Bible times, a long, long time ago, God gave his people a lot of rules. And those laws were made to point us to Jesus and to point us to our need for Jesus. And in a lot of ways, a lot of those rules were fulfilled in Jesus and came true in Jesus, and that's a whole other conversation that we could have another time. But one of the rules, some of the rules were about keeping people clean and not being. And it was a picture of being clean before a holy God, like God demands cleanness, and so he had a lot of these clean rules, like you had to be clean. And one of the rules was when you're on your period, you were unclean. And what does that mean? To us, like, okay, you're unclean, go take a shower. Not to them. To them, when you were unclean, anyone, like if she was on her period, anyone she touched, they would become unclean till the end of the day. Anything she sat on would become unclean. Her bed would be unclean. And it was a big deal. No one wanted to be unclean. Everyone wanted to be clean. When you were unclean, you couldn't go to the mall or the marketplace and bump into people because you would make them unclean. So being unclean was like a big deal to them. And for women, it was while they were on their period and then they were done. It was no big deal. But this woman was unclean for 12 years because hers never stopped. So this poor woman, she was unclean. It doesn't say in the Bible if she had a husband, but if she did, he couldn't hug her because he would be unclean. Her friends, her girlfriends couldn't touch her, couldn't hug her, couldn't say, hey, how are you, and give her a hug, because she would make him unclean. So in a lot of ways, her story is lonely. She was probably alone a lot. It was probably embarrassing. Like, she couldn't tell a lot of people about it because that's embarrassing. She probably didn't feel good. Like, her body didn't feel good. She couldn't get close to anyone. And she had a feeling deep, deep down in her heart, something's not right with me. Something about me is wrong. Something about me is messed up. That's a lonely feeling. And the thing is, every single one of us feel that sometimes. That's how we're wired. We're all girls. I think guys, this is one thing that we'll talk about that guys feel too, but we all have this feeling, maybe not all the time, maybe all the time, but maybe not all the time, that there's something about us that's just not right. Maybe we feel good most of the time, but every once in a while we're like, I'm messed up. Or maybe we feel that a lot, like, I'm messed up. Something's wrong with me. But I think that this is really part of everyone's story. Everyone has a story, right? Like, you have a story about your life, like the things that you have done, the things that, about your family, about, the things that you've experienced. So everyone has an individual story, and I love hearing people's stories. That's very important to me. But this is part of all of our stories. We all have that feeling of, in the quiet parts of our hearts, there's a piece of me that's just messed up, or not right, or weird. Like, there's this piece of me. I call that piece shame. That piece that's like, that feeling of, there's a piece of me that's unacceptable. And this looks different for everybody. Not everyone feels it the same way. Some people feel it like, why would God like me? I'm not good, I know that. Why would God like me? There's a piece of me that's unacceptable. Some people feel it like this. Why would those girls like me? There's something's wrong with me. Why would they ever like me? And some people feel it like this. Well, they like me. Of course they like me. Why wouldn't they like me? But if they really knew me, if they really knew that one part of me, they would think I was so weird. So I feel like all of us have that. I mean, I'm a grown-up, right? I still feel like this. Old ladies in the nursing home, like grandmas, they feel like this. And it's just part of being a human. It's part of being a girl. So I want you to know that you are not the only person that feels like there's a piece of them that is messed up. This is part of who we are. Now, there are some things that you do that are embarrassing that's like, have you ever been in a car and you're like dancing to a song you really like and then you look over and people are watching you? That's embarrassing, right? You're like, that's embarrassing. That happens to everybody, but I'm talking about a deeper feeling, and I think we all know this feeling of, I don't just do embarrassing things, like I'm embarrassed about deeper things. So this girl, let's go back to the Bible. This girl, so she had this problem, right? And it's a really serious problem. Like, those parts of you that you feel that are messed up, like, I understand that. That feels heavy. It's a heavy feeling. So verse 43. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and though she spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. This girl went to every single doctor she could find to fix her. She spent all of her money trying to get better, trying to fix herself, and it didn't work. And when Mark tells this story, Mark is another guy who was one of Jesus' disciples, and he writes down this story the way he remembers it, and he says, not only did she not get better, everything the doctors did for her made it worse. So she's like trying so hard to fix this problem, and everything she tries makes it worse. I mean, it's just such a, like, I feel for her. I get it. I totally get it. So she hears about this guy named Jesus, and she knows that he's more than just a guy. She knows that he can fix her. If she can just get to Jesus, he can fix her. before she knew about Jesus, she had two choices. She could tell everyone about her problem, I'm really messed up, and and kind of be alone, because everyone would go, ugh, you are messed up, like, ugh, I don't want to be near that, and so she would be alone. Or she could hide it. And I think that that's what we do with our parts of us that feel messed up. We hide it. We've been hiders for a very long time. Do you guys remember the Garden of Eden? Do you guys know that story, Adam and Eve? So tell me what happened in the Garden of Eden. So Adam and Eve saw this fruit, and what did they do with it? You can just shout it out. What did they do? Okay, they ate the fruit. Then what happened? What's that? They could see. And then what happened? After they saw, what did they see first? Yeah, they were like, I'm naked. And then what? Okay, all right. So y'all know this story. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Adam and Eve were in the garden. They were the first people. God said, do not do this one thing. Trust me with this. I love you. Don't do this one thing. And they thought, well, we know better. We're going to do it. So they ate the fruit. We don't know what kind of fruit it was. In all the pictures, it's an apple, but the Bible doesn't say that. But they ate the fruit. And the Bible says, let me just turn there real quick. Y'all don't have to, but sometimes the Bible makes me laugh. It says, then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And it's just very the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. Okay, let me tell you what would happen if I was Eve. Hey, Adam, let's eat this fruit. I think it's a good idea. Crunch. All of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm naked. Oh my gosh, what did we do? I would be freaking out. Oh my gosh, what did we just do? What did we just do? And I think that they were freaking out. The Bible says it, but the emotion behind it, they realized that they had just screwed up the world. We screw up a lot, right? But we've never screwed up the world. And it feels bad when we screw up. They realized they had just screwed up the world. So I think that they were freaking out. Here's the sad part, but it's kind of funny. So they say to each other, let's go get leaves and make it better. So they run into the forest, and they're grabbing leaves and sewing them together. Okay, pretend I'm naked for a second. I know, that's kind of weird, but pretend I'm naked. And I run outside and get branches and do this. What would you guys say to me? You'd be like, Julia, you're still naked. It doesn't make any difference, right? It's kind of funny that they went and they got leaves to cover themselves up. You would be like, it's not any better. Now you just look stupid because you have these leaves and you're covering up. Anyway. But they were doing the best they knew how to do, right? They were trying to fix their situation. And ever since the garden, deep, deep down inside of us, there's a feeling that we are unclean. And the feeling, on some level, is true. Because we have sinned against a holy God, and our hearts know that. So without Jesus, if we were to stand before God the Father, our hearts know, I'm dirty. I'm dirty, I'm dirty, I'm dirty. And we need someone to come and wash us. We need someone to come and cover us up. So our hearts know that. But there are some things that we feel unclean about that aren't true. Once you know Jesus, and once you realize that He has covered you, you are covered. So your sin then, yes, it is wrong. Yes, it breaks people's hearts. It hurts people. But when you stand before God, you are covered. If things have been done to you that were not your fault, and people made you feel dirty, that is not the kind of feeling I'm talking about. That is an unclean feeling that is not your fault. So there are some unclean feelings that are true, and there are some unclean feelings that aren't true, and I want you guys to know the difference. But there is a feeling that we are messed up deep inside. Okay. So there's a difference, though. We use these, all of these things to cover ourselves up. Here's the deal. You use something to cover yourself up. Like you feel weird inside, you feel like you're not right. We all need a covering. We all need Jesus to come and cover us up. But instead, sometimes we go to the forest and we try our best to find like fig leaves. I'm just going to call those fig leaves. You have something that you count on to cover you up. Each of us do. I do, and I'm a grown-up. It could be sports. I'm a basketball girl, or I'm a runner, or I'm a swimmer. Hey, come on in. How are y'all? We have one seat there. Y'all can sit on the floor. There's a seat right up here in the front. That one's broken. But there's a seat right here if you want it, or you could just crash on the floor. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, walk of shame. All right.
We're in Luke 8 if y'all want to turn. But all of us have something that we use to cover up. So it could be I'm a good singer, and I'll use that to make myself feel special. Or I'm pretty, or I'm popular, or I'm funny and everyone loves me, or I'm a leader in the youth group, or I'm really good and obedient. We all have something that we use to cover us up because that's natural. We want to cover. We have a feeling that we need to be covered up. You guys are going to know what your thing is in one of two ways, and I want you guys to think about this. You have something that you're counting on to cover you up, and you're going to know it because one, it's going to be the one thing that you think to yourself, oh, if I could only have this, if I could only make it to get that role in that play, if I could only win this game, if I could only have a better family, if I could only have a better this or a better that, better hair, better teeth, whatever, then my life will be good. That one thing will make my life good. Or, the opposite, I have something, and if it gets taken away from me, God, I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't even know who I was. If you took this away from me, I would be so scared. I would feel so bad about myself that I don't know what I would do. So those are the two, like one of two ways. But I want you guys to think about that one thing that you use to cover yourself up, because it's important that we know that about ourselves, that we know what we're counting on. And that's a lot of your, sometimes a lot of your prayers are, God, just give me this one thing. Give me this one thing, God. All I want is this one thing. Please give it to me. Sometimes He gives it to us, sometimes He doesn't. But it's important that you all know that one thing that you count on to cover you up. Sometimes covering ourselves up is a good thing. Like, say we're walking down the street and I've never met you before, and I come up to you and I'm like, hi, I'm Julia, and this is everything I've ever done in my life. And these are all of my deepest, darkest secrets. Like, you would never do that, right? So covering yourself up in some ways is a good thing. And that's what friendship is. Like, you go to your friend and you say, hey, and you show them a little piece of yourself, and you're like, hey, I like this. Do you like that too? Oh, you do? Okay, let's be friends. And you say, hey, I think about this. Oh, is that weird? Oh, okay, I'll cover it back up. Like, you do this thing with your friends, and that's what friendship is it's going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into knowing each other and showing each other pieces of yourself, and eventually you get to pieces of yourself and you're like, this piece of me is messy. Can you handle that? Or when you get to know your youth directors, like you get to know them, and then you start to really get to know them, and you feel safe, and you say, hey, youth director, this piece of me is really messy. Can you handle that? Can you handle me? And safe friends and safe people, they can handle it. So there is a part of us that cover up, and it's a good thing. But I'm talking about a different kind of cover up. So here's the deal with Jesus. He loves us so much. He loves us so much. He can handle anything about you. And guess what? All of those parts about you that are messy and that you're embarrassed of, He already knows them. He already knows about them. You don't have to tell Him about them. He already knows about them. So let's look at this lady in Luke 8 one more time. Okay. So she's pretty desperate, right? She has to get to Jesus. She knows that He's going to fix her. Let's see. She came up behind Him and touched the fringe of His garment, and immediately her discharge of blood ceased. Let me just stop there. We are going to keep moving, but let me just stop there. Have you ever been at a concert and everyone's trying to get to the front row? And you want to get to the front row. So what do you do to get to the front row?
Push.
You push? What else do you do?
Say excuse me and hope that tell people that you're just up their way for you.
Yeah, you know, my friend's up there. I gotta get to my friend. Or you squeeze by. Yeah, you push your way through, you squeeze by. You crawl through their feet, you skinny up the side. Like, you do whatever it takes to get to the front, right? Because you really want to be up front. This girl was doing the same thing. To get to Jesus, it was a packed house. The Bible talks about how everyone was pressing in against Jesus. So she was like, you know, I don't know if she was, excuse me. I don't know if she was like crawling through the bottom through their feet or like, I don't know what she was doing to get to Jesus, but she was on fire. She wanted to get to Jesus. So she's pushing all these people out of the way. She's sliding through. No one can stop this girl. This girl is on fire. Do you guys know that song? Okay, just making sure that you don't think I'm a crazy person. So she touched him. Remember this girl's story? She's unclean, right? What's the one thing she's not supposed to do? Touch people. How many people did she touch to get to Jesus? Okay. And Jesus says, "Who touched me?" And when all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds surround you and are pressing in on you." Okay. So she's gotten through this crowd. She's like worked her way through, trying to get through. And then she touches Jesus. Do you think she can get away very fast? No, she's right there. And he says, "Who touched me?" What would you do if you were this girl?
I think I would be like,
Huh? Right, you'd be like, Okay, and it says in the Bible, when all denied it, so she's standing there, yeah, she's going, wasn't me, was it you? It wasn't me, was it? I mean, she's like totally, and I would be doing that too. I'd be like, I don't know, Jesus, I don't know who touched you. Actually, what I would be doing is probably either peeing in my pants because I was so scared, or hoping that the ground would just open up and swallow me. I mean, I would be like, Jesus, I'm in trouble, you know, like, I touched Jesus, I shouldn't have, he's going to know the truth. I would be so scared. So, and then Peter's like, Jesus, what are you talking about? There's so many people here, like, why are you asking this question? And Jesus is like, no, someone touched me. He's not going to let this girl go. He is after her. He is not going to let her touch and run, like get the one thing she wants and then run away. He loves her too much. He wants her. He wants her. And he's not going to stop until he has her. So he says, no. Someone touched me. I felt it. Now listen to this. When the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. She is so scared right now. Imagine being in front of a whole group of people and having to tell your most embarrassing thing. The thing that you are most ashamed of, the thing that you try so hard to hide. Imagine being in front of everyone and saying, this is me. Oh, and by the way, hey, everybody back there, I made you all unclean, by the way. Like everyone I touched to get to Jesus, sorry, you're unclean now. I mean, this is her most embarrassing moment. She's so scared. She's trembling. She falls down at Jesus' feet and she says, this is me. And she takes off all of her coverings because Jesus makes her. Takes off all of her coverings because he wants to get to the real her. He doesn't want to talk to the covered up girl. He doesn't want to talk to the girl that's hiding. He wants to talk to the real girl. And so he has her take off all of her coverings. And he says, who touched me? And she says, I did, Jesus. And I touched you because I'm messed up. And I need someone to fix me. I can't fix myself. I've tried so hard to fix myself. I've tried everything to fix myself. In our version, it would be, God, I get up every morning and I straighten my hair and I put on my makeup and I spend 15, 30, 40, 50 minutes picking out clothes. I go to school and I try to be cool and I laugh at all the right jokes and I gossip about people and I try and be safe and do the right thing. But really, the whole day, I feel messed up. I don't feel right, and I don't feel like anyone else feels that way. I feel so alone. And so she stands there, and she says all of this stuff about herself in front of everyone. How scary is that? So listen to what Jesus says. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." And in Matthew's version of this story, he says, "Take heart, daughter. Take heart. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Jesus, when he sees all of our mess, he doesn't say, "Ugh, yeah, you're messed up." He doesn't say, "I don't get it." He doesn't say, "Ooh, that's gross." He looks this girl in the eyes. I'm so jealous because think about when you hear love songs about boyfriends looking you in the eyes and there's all this love in the world in their eyes, or that wedding on your wedding day when you look your husband in the eyes and you see all this love in their eyes. That's nothing compared to the love in Jesus' eyes. And so she got to look, in her most embarrassing moment, she got to look Jesus in the eyes and see all the love in the world. I'm jealous. I want that. I want a chance to look Jesus in the eyes and feel all the love in the world, that I'm loved just because I'm loved. There's nothing I can do to mess it up. There's nothing, I don't have to hide anything. He loves the real me. You're going to get that chance. You're going to have your turn. In heaven, you're going to see his eyes. And he's going to look at you. And you will see all the love in the world. You will see he's the man who knows everything about you. He's the best friend that knows everything about you, every scary, messy, dirty part of you. And he will look at you, and you will see all the love in the world. That's the day that I'm living for. Forget graduating high school, forget graduating college, forget your wedding day, forget the day that you have your first baby, forget the day that you become the movie star that you want to be, or win the Olympics, or become the President of the United States, or whatever that dream day is for you. Forget it. The day that your heart will finally know that it's home is the day that you see Jesus' eyes. That is the day. And that's the day we're living for. And all that other stuff is good, but man, that day is going to blow your mind. You will never feel like you will on that day. You will feel so loved. This is the deal. Jesus knows everything about you. He knows all of your mess. Pretend you go to school on the first day of school and you're in a really hard class. And you're like, I can't do this. I know I can't do it. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not smart enough. I'm going to fail this class. What if the teacher looked at you and was like, don't worry about it. You got an A. I'm going to give you an A. No matter what you do, I'm going to give you an A. Now learn, grow, learn, but no matter what, you're getting an A. Wouldn't that feel good? You don't have to worry about it. Same with Jesus. He knows all about you. He knows everything about you. He knows all of your messy parts. He knows the part that you're ashamed of. And you have an A. He loves you. So what do we do until we get our turn to look into Jesus' eyes? What do we do? That's a long time. For you, that feels like forever. For me, that feels like forever. I'm not going to be in heaven for a long time, maybe. But what do we do until then? You guys, you have a really unique power and strength to be Jesus to each other. As your friends and people in your school, as they show their messy parts, you can be his hands and his feet. You are the body of Christ. You can love the messy parts of each other. It's hard, but and you're not going to do it perfectly, but you have a chance to love each other like Jesus loved. So as your friends show you the parts of themselves that are messy, or if there are people in your school that are messy, you can be Jesus to them and show them what it means to be loved even if you're messy. Because isn't that what we all ache for? We want to be loved even though we're messy. When you guys read the Bible, this is something I actually learned this week from Mr. Stewart, Joey Stewart. When you read the Bible, the first thing you want to think of when you read the Bible, if you're like, how do I read the Bible? How do I know more about God? Blah, blah, blah. The first thing you want to think of is when you read the Bible, think about, what does this say about who God is? What does this say about Jesus? And the more we look at Jesus, the more we understand how to live life, the more we understand what love is. So as you guys go through this week into your devotionals, when you read your Bible, the first thing I want you to think is, what does this say about Jesus and his heart towards me? Because this whole book is a love story. So, do you guys have any questions? Any comments? Okay, if you see me around campus, I'm around, and I really want to meet y'all. So if you want to come and say hi or whatever, if you have questions that you want to ask me that aren't comfortable in this room to ask me, you're more than welcome to do that. But I'm really glad you guys are here. We're going to be going through the next couple days talking about stuff like this. Chaperones, if you have thoughts or things you want to share with me that would be helpful to your group, or things that I could say differently, let me know. I'd love feedback. So I'm going to pray, and then you guys are dismissed, okay? Jesus, I'm just really grateful that you don't ask me to be perfect. You don't care if I am put together. You know the real me. You know the parts of me that I am worried about or ashamed of or embarrassed of. And you love me. You love these girls, God. And I'm so grateful for that. So I just ask that you would open our eyes that we might see the depths of your love. Open our eyes that we can understand the height and the breadth and the depth of your love for us. Because sometimes we don't feel it, Jesus. We don't feel like you love us. We can't feel how deep your love is. So I pray for these girls that they would understand that this week, that they would feel love from you and know that you are not overwhelmed by their story. You are not overwhelmed by the things that they have done, the things that have been done to them, who they are. You love them. And it's in your name I pray. Amen.